All right, listen. It's only March. We've mentioned that. It's only March. The season starts in September. So who would actually do power rankings in March? Well, Charles McDonald did, and I'm here for it. I'm here for it. You hear that, Mark Spears? We got to do this stuff round the clock. But I'm excited about it. You've got your AFC and NFC power rankings based on what we've seen already, Charles McDonald, what we've seen already in free agency. And what I want to know from you is why didn't it change? You got the number one team in the AFC is the Chiefs. You got the number one team is the NFC is the Eagles. And the Eagles lost a lot in free agency. Why do you still have them as the two number ones?
Well, the Chiefs, that's easy. They got 15 under center. And until that changes, they should be considered the top team in the AFC. I think what's so impressive about what the Chiefs did this year, or really what Mahomes had accomplished, was, you hear a lot about the supporting cast that he's been helped with, and that's true. But I think this year he did more of a superhero act than every other year before. They traded Tyreek Hill over to the Dolphins, which left a massive vacuum in targets that they had to fill, which they mostly did with either rookies or young receivers like Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore. Travis Kelce helps, but it wasn't like he had the dominant number one receiver, and nothing changed in terms of production. I think he's kind of gotten to the Peyton Manning sphere where as long as he's on the field, you've got a chance to win. And as far as the Eagles go, I think their defense is going to take a step back this year, but I like the additions they made on offense. The only really big loss they had along the offensive line was Isaac Suamolo, who left in free agency. But they signed Rashad Penny to replace Miles Sanders, and it looks like they're in on the Ezekiel Elliott game too. So I like their plan to kind of reshape what was a really good offense last year. Still got Jalen Hurts, still got most of the offensive line, A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert. I think when you look at a pretty weak NFC right now, especially as far as quarterback talent goes, having Jalen Hurts really takes you a long way.
I agree with that. But back to your Patrick Mahomes point, I think that, he told us a couple of years ago, he wasn't even really into a film like that. And then I think now what we're seeing is him actually getting into the ins and outs of the games. I think the first couple of years he was just relying on his athletic ability, and now he's actually studying it more and more. And that's the scary part, right? In terms of oh, wow, he had more to grow. And he had already won a Super Bowl and been to the Super Bowl twice. So that's the scary part, because Juju, yes, was a number one because he had more production than the rest of the receivers combined. But when you look at his numbers, it wasn't like he was like a distinct Tyreek Hill type of number one. So really everything that was going on was really a lot of the ability of Patrick Mahomes. And obviously having Travis Kelce helps a lot. That's the scary part to me. That's what scares me, is that it doesn't matter who his number one is. He got 87 and he can do whatever he wants to do with anybody else. They don't even run the ball, and yet they win the Super Bowl. It's insane.
Yeah, I would say to people who are if you're tired of this Patrick Mahomes thing, you got to get over it, because we got 10 to 15 more years of him playing at a really high level. And man, I don't really even know what it would take for him to have a bad season outside of injury, because even as Travis Kelce gets older and he starts to hit the back nine of his career, it's not like your perception of the Chiefs really changed all that much, because Mahomes has been that good. And we've never seen someone get off to the start that he's had in his career. 5 years he started. He's made the Pro Bowl every single year, 2 MVPs, 2 Super Bowls, 2 Super Bowl MVPs, an Offensive Player of the Year the same year he won his first MVP, which was his first year as a starter. I mean, I don't really know what else there is to say until there's someone who's matching that or getting close to that. And I think there's a lot of good quarterbacks in the AFC, but there's the Mahomes tier, and then there's everybody else. And I think that you can be an elite quarterback without being Patrick Mahomes, because he is just on a completely different plane than everybody else right now.
I agree. And then the only thing I'll add to that, Charles, is you talk about the 2 Super Bowl MVPs. All right, how about 5 years, 3 Super Bowl appearances? So he's 2-1 in the Super Bowl. He's been there 3 times in 5 years. That's just crazy. And so, and you feel like you just get. Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think one of the craziest stats within that realm is all 5 years that Patrick Mahomes has started for the Chiefs, they have hosted the AFC Championship game. So As long as Patrick Mahomes is on your team, you are most likely going to be within one game of the Super Bowl, and history shows you're going to be hosting that game. And
Yep.
they had, and the 2 years that they lost, it was, you're up big on the Bengals at halftime, and you have just a historically bad half of football to lose against them. And then before that, remember they had the game one against the Patriots, but D Ford was slightly offsides, or he jumped. Yep, and they've got the ball back, and the Tom Brady voodoo magic kicked in. So that's what it takes to beat Patrick Mahomes. You got to either got to turn him into Blaine Gabbert, or you got to have the luck of Tom Brady. And good luck with that.
And that game, not only was D Ford offsides, that game was in overtime. Had to go to overtime.
Right.
To beat Patrick Mahomes. Let me ask you this: number 4 on your list in the NFC. That's the official team, a brother from another. That is the Detroit Lions. I like that you're giving them some love. What do you think the ceiling for Detroit is in 2023? I mean, just like let's just dream a little bit with the Lions.
Well, not even ceiling. I think their goal should be to win the NFC North. I don't really see why that's not possible for them, because even when you look at what happened to them last season, and they didn't make the playoffs, but they did beat the Packers. They've beaten the Vikings last year. Now that's a Packers team that no longer has Aaron Rodgers, and we'll see what Jordan Love can do. But when you just look at the totality of their roster, there's not a more complete roster in that division. I thought the Vikings season last year was a little bit of funny money, where you have these elite players in Dalvin Cook and Justin Jefferson and guys like Danielle Hunter on the other side of the ball, kind of holding together what's not a super great team on the whole. But the Lions, they've really started to build out the depth in this roster. And I think we look at their free agency moves, the two I really liked were signing Chauncey Gardner-Johnson from the Eagles, and then getting 49ers cornerback Emmanuel Moseley to kind of lock in that secondary, which was a big need for them coming into the offseason. And what people might not know about Emmanuel Moseley is if he didn't tear his ACL last year, he would have been in line for a much bigger deal than he got this offseason instead of the 1-year deal that he got, because he's only 26, 27 years old. When he's healthy and on the top of his game, he was probably the best defensive back, or at least the best outside cornerback on a really, really good 49ers defense. So if he's healthy, Gardner Johnson's healthy and ready to go, obviously signed Cam Sutton too. Those are 3 big additions for their secondary, which they really needed. But I think the Moseley signing can really pay off in a big way down the line too.
Yeah, I am rooting for the Lions. I don't know why. Maybe because they've just been in purgatory for so long that when you see a little bit of promise. And I'm really not as hard on golf as other people.
You said they've been where for so long? Where did you say they've been for so long?
I'm not going to repeat it because I feel like I said something wrong.
You said,
so I'm not.
No, you said purgatory, right?
Oh, I did.
No,
yeah.
It's hell.
Okay.
No, it's hell.
All right.
They've been in. It's straight up. They weren't in purgatory. They weren't like on the verge. Straight up hell for years and years.
I'm good with that. I'm good with straight up hell, right? They've been in hell. Right. I think that having golf at the moment until they figure out what they want to do with the quarterback situation allows them to be competitive. So I'm with the Lions. I like it. Yeah. Again, you mentioned how weak the NFC North could potentially be, because we don't really know how that's going to play out, but I like it. I want to say this, though, because we know that Charles is a lifelong Falcons fan. And, even though he's from Maryland, yes, I am going to call you out on that. It's okay, brother. But, he has been clamoring for the Falcons to go after Lamar. Now, I was on this show a couple of weeks ago with Mike as a guest, and I said that I thought that the Falcons were in the best position to grab him. They had the second most cap. They have, a lot of good pieces in terms of they can run the ball. They obviously got a tight end situation that they really like. Obviously, that at the moment, that hasn't really played out. But aside from your bias, because I feel like some of this is your bias, what is it about that makes that so alluring to you?
He's the perfect quarterback for what they need to do on offense right now. Like, if I was going to draw up a quarterback for Arthur Smith in a lab, I will come out with something that was pretty close to what Lamar Jackson has developed into, where obviously, if they can figure out quarterback runs with Desmond Ridder and Marcus Mariota, that's something that Lamar Jackson would have no problem with. And really where the Falcons offense, failed last year was Arthur Smith, he's as bad as their past numbers were, he's a pretty good designer of pass plays. And dude, there's so many plays where Mariota is missing a wide open Kyle Pitts or a wide open Drake London. And those are plays that Lamar Jackson can hit because he's still one of the best passers in the NFL, even when you pair him with his running ability. So it like you said, all the stars had aligned up, the cap space, not only the cap space, but the position in the division. It was the only competition would be like Derek Carr as things stands right now in terms of who would be the best.
Do we really consider that competition, friend? Do we really consider that competition?
Oh, not to Lamar Jackson, which is more of a reason why you should go out and get him. And the thing is, it's not as expensive as it would be to get Deshaun Watson last year, because with the non-exclusive franchise tag, you're locked into a 2 first-round pick asking price. So if you're going to tell me, would I send the 8th pick plus whatever pick they have next year and then give Lamar, close to a fully guaranteed contract, to me, that's a no-brainer. And then you have the history, right? Where, look, I'm not saying it's right. I think it's wrong, but there's a whole lot of Falcons fans that still think that Michael Vick was a better quarterback than Matt Ryan. I do not subscribe to that belief of thinking. But you can't look at me and say that getting someone like Lamar Jackson wouldn't kind of restore the feeling of what the old Georgia Dome had, where every Sunday it felt like a party. Win or lose, like I'm going to see Ludacris, T.I. there. It's going to be a party at halftime, and it's going to be fun. I just think they missed a really golden opportunity to add someone that would really help the team just win more games and also get people going back to the stadium, which is something they really, really need.
Hey, thank you for watching Brother from Another. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, go ahead and do that now. Don't forget, you can catch us 3 to 4 weekdays on PeacockTV.com and on Sirius XM Channel 85.